Hello, hello. Thanks a lot again for a great introduction. I was actually thinking about singing the first line, but I was not brave enough to do that during conference speech. So yeah, hi there everyone. My name is Natalia, and today I want to share with you some not so successful stories that I have had throughout my professional career, not only in IT, just out of curiosity. Uh, because yeah, let's maybe start from going back in time to accountancy. Before IT, I used to work as an accountant for about 7 years, if I remember correctly. And I was responsible for various activities, payroll calculation, full books of accountancy, individual contributors, like simplified version of accountancy, etc. But in my second year of being an accountant, I was responsible for calculating statements for NGOs and grants that they have received. Just a little bit of context to better you understand what possibly could go wrong with that. Usually when we have like regular company and we do the calculations at the very end of the month, we are collecting invoices, all kinds of documents that we need to submit. Then we are preparing those monthly reports, until this yearly statements. Okay, the very first failure, I think I have checked that, but yeah. Anyway, and in parallel of that, there are also grants. So, for example, when you have a small NGO that is running a primary school, and they don't have their own money, they can go to the commune office, submit for a grant, and they will receive some money. Usually, you need to submit final calculations in very similar way that you do the regular accountancy to the tax offices, etc. But those are happening in parallel. So usually you are not obliged to do that by the 25th of or any other deadline, just end of the year. And also the very important thing in that is when you have a grant, usually, depending on rules, but usually you need to spend the whole money that you have received. Otherwise, you need to return that. And the deadline for that is the end of the year, so the 31st of December. Having that context in mind, I was like submitting summary just to give like a heads up information to our client, how much money they have left. And what I have realized, that they received grant for about 240k Polish zloty. But when I go through all real costs that they have spent, I realized there was like 223, even though like a couple weeks earlier, I told them that, okay, everything is on track, you will spend the whole money, all good. But suddenly we have like 70k difference that they were not aware of. So my first reaction was like, uh-oh, what's next? Like, how the hell it happened? And let's go back again to a little bit of context of accountancy and how actually the payroll are calculated or submitted. So when you have a list of like payrolls for your employees, contract employment to be specific, you need to submit records to full books of accountancy, and you do it in that way. So on the left side, you have debit side where you calculate or submit all of your costs, and on the right side, you have reconciliation. So this is something that you should submit or calculate at the very end of the year, because in the balance sheet it's shown how the operations with you and your clients look alike. So as you probably already noticed, I doubled the ZUS tax of employer. Why it was not caught? Each record, each table like that is submitted individually. So you have to have left and right side like balance. So the sum is always equal. So until you check the final reconciliations value, this 220, you won't be aware that something went wrong. You can think about changing one line or changing a bit the component in your application until you run the automated test or someone goes and click through the app, you won't be aware that something was broken. So yeah, that was a little bit scary because like when you are an accountancy office, you need to be like a professional, right? It works the same when you are in software house working with a client on a project. If they had like did something wrong, usually it's okay, it's client, they have changed the decision. But if we are the accountancy office that it's responsible and we are like showing us as an expert, as experts, it would be better not to do such mistakes, especially that I was thinking that I was like calculating that properly, but apparently not. How it ended? Well, at that time I was not fully aware how the inflation works, and I already was like figuring out how many years I have to save money to return all of that to the client and to my boss. But I think I was lucky in all of that eventually, because that the commune office that was responsible for giving you the grant, they also made a mistake, and somehow it was really close to those 70K difference that I have made earlier. So we were lucky enough because eventually it was okay. It was office, so it always looks better when the office higher in the hierarchy made a mistake instead of you, that you are like the responsible one. So what I have learned thanks to that? Well, first things first, onboarding really matters. I got this NGO company to run without no intro. Just okay, just take a look how it was done in similar companies, and you will figure it out. Well, it doesn't necessarily work in that way. Every single company, every single NGO has slightly different accountant plan. So the list of those numbers that I have showed you in a table, they can be organized in a slightly different way, which affects the way you calculate the costs and the way you submit the records. So onboarding, that's a must-have, no matter if you are like already in the company, but if it's a topic new for you, it would be good to have some introduction to that. Second one, well, documentation and those all administrative stuff that we usually don't really like, at least like a stereotypical IT people. But if I would check the calculation and those reconciliation earlier than at the very end of the year, it would be something that I could have caught much, much earlier, not at the very end when you basically cannot do anything, because like this organization couldn't spend yet another 70K on something. It was like too close to the end of the year at that time. And like connected to the previous one, checking ourselves, checking our work, how do we do stuff, especially when the topic is very, very new and we are working on those fragile areas connected with money and connected with high risk. But time flies. After a couple years in IT, in accountancy, I decided to change my job profession to IT. And yeah, I was a newbie after like year and a half. Sorry, when I was a newbie, I was a part of the infrastructure team of the QA that was responsible for defining core processes that should be adapted within other product teams in one big company. So after a while, I already thought, okay, I'm pretty fresh, but I already like saw different teams, different specifics that they can have, and I landed up in a team. I was like delegated to help with setting up QA process and big release. The application at that time was like the native application that was for both platforms, iOS and Android, that was about to connect live with web platform, and there was like the live communication between user that was like connecting from the app and the web platform at the same time. In general, very interesting product that I was like super curious to learn about and wanted to really handle that very well. And I joined the team that already has a QA assigned. So we sat down together and we started discussing how do we want to go with this QA process? How do we want to set it up? We discussed also the test strategy. What kind of tests do we need? Where they should happen? What about like the automation? What are the priorities, etc.? How do we want to report issues? We gonna have lots of users that will be like beta testers of our application. How do we want to handle those customer support tickets, etc.? And also, how do we want to document all of that? Like different platforms, a lot of knowledge, everything is written from scratch, how to handle all of this. So after like discussing all of those 4 points, we were like, that's really nicely like discussed. We were like satisfied, but what we have done? So you may ask, where is the problem? What happened? Why is the failure? Well, basically everything. The first thing, we misunderstood what's our role within that team. The QA that was already assigned to this team, he was okay. I have an ownership on that process. I can lead the QA process. That's the keyword that there. I can lead the QA process within the team. So anyone who's joining is rather a support from my side. From my perspective, I was on equal position with that guy, and I was rather, okay, I'm joining from the infrastructure team. We are the ones who are defining processes. So I also should be kind of an expert, do some advisory, and so on. So on the very core level of our understanding why we are here, we were wrong. The next thing, well, process. I was not aware enough at the time what's really important for the users. I was slightly biased by the web application that I was already working with, so I couldn't define priorities in a proper way. Like we were thinking in parallel, in different sites. Each of us has slightly different understanding of the like what's the core of our product here, what's the most important stuff. And last but not least, definitely like communication. Because we had different understanding of the priorities, we also struggle a lot with communication to our stakeholders and even between us. I remember that once VP of product, who was responsible for that area that we were like trying to figure out, came to us and asked, what about like the state of that feature, whether we can like go with the first part live or not? And my colleague said that it's okay, it's like good enough for me. I'm happy with the state of the quality. And I said to our VP that I won't give my sign off to that. So you can imagine you have two QAs that are responsible for the same, and we like on the opposite side when it comes to state of the quality. So something is definitely not good there. How it ended? Well, feedback, feedback, feedback. I must say that at that time, the key role was on our manager. That like he actually is present on that conference, and my colleague as well, that I'm talking about the situation. He took us to simply to the discussion. But what I really liked and I really remember from that situation, he wasn't trying to do and to solve the problem instead of us, rather encourage us to like talk, to send this not super nice feedback and to listen the other person. So basically, we sat down together, we discussed everything once again. We go through our checklist that you have already seen, trying to figure out what actually we understood by this particular point. And I must say that we, after like this whole miscommunication with VP and throughout this feedback process, we didn't really get on well with that guy. And after almost, oh my God, another like 6-7 years, we are quite like good friends, I must say. So I guess it was also a good lesson for both of us. Key lessons learned that I have grabbed based on that situation. First, contract. No matter if I'm joining the team as a newbie, no matter if it's the project I know or we are setting up everything all together, I'm trying to build understanding how do I see my role as a QA within that team, but also trying to understand how people that I supposed to work with understand that, because they can see QAs rather as an automation professionals, or I want to be focused on the process in general, not necessarily on pure technical stuff at the same time. So the key thing is to understand what's the role of that person and trying to find those common points that we can share if there are any mismatch, so we can work effectively on the project that we are supposed to. The second stuff, it's already that I have mentioned even in a previous lesson, is process check and feedback. But the difference here it is that I thought, and I used to be quite narrow-minded when it comes to contracts and the way we are agree on something. Maybe it's slightly because of my accountancy bias. So I'm used to like deadlines. I can work well with like loss statements, whatever. But it doesn't work, especially when you're a new team. Like I think I didn't fully understand what does it mean to be like flexible, to be agile, to work iteratively on the stuff that you can define. So that helped me a lot understand that nothing is written in the stone, especially when it comes to processes. And something that was also already mentioned today, we were totally different with that colleague when it comes to personalities. I would add also here a topic that Magda said before about cultural differences. So it may affect a lot the way we are understand stuff, the way we are working on those, and the way we are communicating each other. With that colleague, we were in the same cultural circle, but our personalities were like from different planets. So you need to also think about that when you're trying to, I forgot the English word for that, but trying to build your trust with the second person that, or any other person that you have to work with. So time flies. I was like slightly getting more and more experience when it comes to IT and testing in general. And after a couple of years, I decided also to change the job. I landed up in the project that was responsible for payroll calculation, or actually payroll automation. So kind of landed up in the roots. But on slightly different ways. So you can imagine platform that is responsible for grabbing all of your data as a contract of employer, but also helping you sending payrolls when it comes to payments. When I now remember about that project and think about that, I think that like calculating payrolls as an accountant, for me, was easier than working in the company that was trying to automate that. Just right. And we had a case that at some point our team wanted to integrate Salesforce to help with customer relationship management within the team. Like business analysis and application were working in separate. They were sending some reports manually. They wanted some bigger picture and something more optimized to do that. So on the one side, we had development team simply responsible for the application, calculating all of stuff, preparing what's needed on our side. On the other hand, we had business analysis team that was responsible for preparing Salesforce side to do this integration, and in the middle we had a QA. If the QA should be the one that's responsible for clicking this magic green button called deploy, merge, however we call it, that's the different topic. From my personal opinion, it shouldn't be one person. But at that time, basically, it was like it was. I couldn't do much anything about that, so I was trying somehow to figure out how to connect everything. So I prepared the checklist. I had a lots of like communication in both sides. So I was sort of like a QA, PM, a bit of like delivery manager at the same time, kind of busy role. But like then came this moment that I had to click merge. So each time I had to click that, I'm like, Jesus Christ, please help me. And as you may already expect, I click, and very soon I was like that. Well, what happened basically, production was broken. After clicking this final PR and deploying the final integration site, you couldn't use our app at all. Like no login, no payroll, like it was non available for anyone basically. So what happened? We quickly do the rollback and trying to figure out what actually went wrong with the application. So coming back to the previous slide, on the one side we had app, on like our app that we were working on. On the other side, we had Salesforce, and in between there was like a deploy tool, I would say. I'm not sure if I can say the name of that, so let's imagine sort of integration platform whatsoever. And those envelopes that you can see are secrets on both sides. And what was missing? That were secrets on the application side. When I was clicking a deploy, I was supposed to set up all necessary secret upfront on the application side and on this deploy tool. The funny thing is that I have confirmed whether we have everything what we need, and Salesforce team confirmed that okay, secrets have been set up, because I already, like in the past, I forgot about them, but it was not that risky at that moment, so nothing wrong happened. Simply quick rollback, but application was not like broken. Only one model, whatever. But I didn't realize that we should have two types of secrets at that time. I only thought that Salesforce secrets are enough. So like, what was next? After this not super successful deploy fail and rollback that I have already mentioned, I was trying to organize and like feeling ownership for the whole situation. Retrospective with some root cause analysis that we can figure out what actually happened. I must say that was one of the toughest experiences that I have ever had in my professional career, because unfortunately, when you have like single person responsible for deploy, it's very easy to start blame game in such case, like pinpointing that okay, you were the one who clicked this magic button. So as I mentioned, it's totally different discussion for probably different even presentation, whether the process should look like that. In my opinion, not. But I was somehow trying to figure out and like how can I teach the others and how can I show the others that, okay, we can do the retrospective. I know what I did wrong because also like some test plans were not fully okay and so on. But it was not only my fault. And that's what I wanted to show to the others. But yeah, when I think about that, I still have like, oh, nightmares, really. But even those kind of lessons can be useful for you. So if you have such a big integration release or even smaller one, don't assume that everyone just know. It connects with the onboarding part that I have mentioned, but I truly believe that everyone owns the scope of what we are doing. But what has changed within that situation, in my thinking, my perspective, I think in the first years in IT, I was more naive when it comes to feeling this common ownership that we are one team, we are working on the same goal, and so on. We are not the family. We are colleagues that working on the same business goal, and we should be aware that if something went wrong, we should be responsible because company is like losing money. The quality is not enough. Something went wrong with the process, but it doesn't work like that. That okay, just take a look, or it's just obvious. It isn't, especially when you are new in the new company and in a complex business logic, for sure. After that, again, as sort of accountancy biases, I would say. But especially after that situation, I really like to align what's needed in writing. So if I have to conduct a bigger release or have a ownership of some bigger features, processes, whatsoever, I try to prepare checklist what's needed up front to make it done, even it's not fully my responsibility, but just to have a backup. Those kind of updates simply works as insurance for you. You can discuss how the whole documentation process should look like totally separately. It can also be tricky, but it's again topic for another time. But writing updates like dependencies in writing and then writing updates, written updates, what happened, what's important, what's the current state. This is something that simply can save your skin afterwards if something went wrong. So to sum up a bit, what did I learn the hard way after those like three, not the only one, but I suppose the most epic fails that I have had throughout my career. Is simply there is no universal pattern for failure. Every single case is different. Even though I had some knowledge already about like the second one, that I need to figure out the process, I can do the contract. Totally different things can go wrong once you have the similar or failing situation again. But each of those, every single situation like that requires feedback. But by feedback, I mean not only analysis on the situation itself, but sort of like the feedback to yourself. So just like sitting down and okay, the process went wrong. We forgot about A, B, C, D, etc. But I always try to figure out what I can do better next time, what I have forgotten, what I should remember about, what I didn't know when it comes to tooling, what would be useful for me to explore more in the future. So yeah, feedback for both the situation, but also like from you to you. The third thing is like Processes exists for a reason. You can follow it, you can suffer, but I think here we can also like add a little star and like bonus point. Processes should not be defined to expose people, to make it easier, this whole blame game stuff, rather to help you with making those stuff easier. If something is wrong with a process, try to figure it out, try to improve that later. But at the same time, if you agree on something, don't be discouraged maybe when something is not fully okay at the very beginning. Even the process can be like defined well, you still need some time to adapt. So it's a bit hard to find a balance. Where's the moment that, okay, process is not working, or versus we still need some time to adapt to that. But I guess the more failures we do, the easier it is to find it, to figure it out. And at the very end, let's do not forget about ourselves. Like, those situations for me at that time were super stressful. I remember that I spent the whole evening crying after this failure release. And even now I'm standing in front of you, but I remember 3 years ago, I had a presentation and I almost fainted during the speech. And after that, it was like, no way, I'm not gonna do that again. It was so a disaster. No CFPs, never more. Somehow I'm sharing those stuff because once you have some time to accept those emotions, that accept that, okay, I did it wrong, but I wouldn't be here if I haven't done these mistakes before. Yeah, simply don't forget about yourself, give yourself some time to adapt. I wanted to add something here, but I think I forgot. So let's proceed. So to sum up, if life struggles, your professional life sometimes, and when the situation left you nothing more than to sing along with Britney. Oops, I did it again, as we did actually yesterday during party. I much prefer to remember that the greatest teacher the failure is, and that what I would like you to remember, just in general. Thank you so much for your presence, and I think I'm happy to answer any questions if any. That depends. I think I like the most Chandler and his sense of humor. I don't see, I believe. Okay, if no, then thank you so much. You can find me on LinkedIn and happy to connect. Yeah, just enjoy the rest of the conference. Still, we have like 10 extra minutes for a coffee.